very good morning to all of you. Today is our third part of the chapter Pteridophyte. In this part, we are learn about external morphology of sporophyte. It is actually a broad point of life cycle of Nephrolepis, in which we learn about the habitat, distribution, and external morphology of sporophyte only. Let us see one by one. Life cycle of Nephrolepis. Here, the habit of Nephrolepis. Nephros means kidney, and lepis means the indusium. That means kidney shape and the scale-like. Okay, kidney shape or scale-like structure, and it is represented by about 30 species. This Nephrolepis species, it is represented by 30 species, and the mature plant body, it is the sporophytic. There are two type of plant body are there, sporophytic and gametophytic, but here the mature plant body of Nephrolepis, it is the sporophytic and can be differentiated into the rhizome, root and leaves. Here sporophytic plant body means the plant body or the plant which produces the spore. Spore phytic means the plant which produces the spore. They are sporophytic plant, and they can be differentiated into the rhizome, root and leaves. Okay, this is about the habit of the Nephrolepis. Next one is the habitat. It is the evergreen fern. Nephrolepis, that plant is a evergreen fern and terrestrial in habitat, native to the tropical region throughout the world, and it is commonly occurred in the humid forest and swamps. Mostly in humid forest they are mostly found, and in the swampy area, especially in South America, North America, Florida, West Indies, India, etc. These are the various countries where it is actually found. Distribution. Where they are distributed? They are distributed, or the genus Nephrolepis consists of the totally 30 species which are distributed in the tropical world of the tropics of the world. The life cycle of Nephrolepis exlanta shows the alternation of generation in which the sporophytic generation is dominant and diploid in nature, and gametophytic generation is haploid in nature. Here life cycle of Nephrolepis, it having the two generations. First one is the sporophytic generation and second one is the gametophytic generation. But here the sporophytic generation, it is the dominant, and the gametophytic generation, it is in lesser. It is the span of the gametophytic generation is less. Okay, so the sporophytic generation, it is dominant and it is diploid, and gametophytic is the haploid. Next one is the external morphology of the sporophyte. How the plant is actually look like. That is the externally how the plant is. That is nothing but the external morphology. The fern plant is the sporophyte and it is the perennial. Annual means they complete their life cycle in 1 year, and perennial means they complete their life cycle in more than 2 years. Biannual means they complete their life cycle in more than 2 years, and perennial means they complete their life cycle in more than 2 years. They are all the plant, they are known as the perennial plant. Here the dominant and differentiated into the root, stem and leaves. That fern plant having root, stem and leaves. The roots are small, fibrous, branched and possesses the persistent root hairs. The primary root of the young sporophyte is short-lived and dies very early. Okay, this is about the root. The primary root of the young sporophyte, they are died. Okay, very earlier stage, and they are short-lived. Next one, the stem. Stem is erect, short, thick, condensed, cylindrical and obliquely placed in the soil. Such a stem is commonly known as a rootstock or rhizome or codex also. It is very rough due to the persistent leaf base, and rhizome gives out large number of extra axillary branches which are called as the stolones, and that stolones are green when young and turn brown at the maturity. This is about the stem of the Nephrolepis. Next one is it is about the external morphology. Let us see here the actual plant. This basal part, okay, it is known as the codex, okay, and that codex having a branch like structure. Let us see here, that is known as the stolon. Okay, these are on stolon, the adventitious root system are arise here. This is also stolon, and these are the adventitious root system where the spur, that means from this part the new plant or new leaf-like structure is arise from this spur. Okay, these are the younger branch, that is, or younger leaf-like structure, that is known as the circinate leaf, and it is the mature leaf here. Again, that mature leaf having pinna, rachis on which that pinna comes, frond at the basal side, okay, and these are the pinnately compound leaves like a neem tree. Okay, neem also having the pinnately compound leaf, and look that like here these leaf are look like that neem leaves. Here the codex, this is the codex, and the codex is fully covered with the scale, and that scales with the pelted base and thin plate edges of often bearing the fine hairs on them. At the interval of stolon produce the adventitious root at the basal side. Let us see here. At an interval, the adventitious root are arises at the below, and buds or spur. Let us see here. Bud or spur, they are arises in the above the ground, and which develop into the plant under the favorable condition. Further, in the favorable condition, they produce into the new plant. Each leaf is differentiated into the basal part. The basal part is known as the frond, and the upper part it is divided into the pinna, rachis, okay, and after that the leaves, they are the large pinnately compound and spirally arranged toward the apex, at the apex to the codex. Each leaf, we know that the basal part without the leaflet, and that is known as the stipe. Here at the basal part there is no leaf on this stem or leaf, that is known as the stipe, and the part on which the leaves are arises, that is known as the frond region. Okay, and these pinna, one leaf or leaflet, that is known as the pinna, and that pinna are arranged on the either side of this frond. The young frond is silvery white in color and coil inward in form apex to the base of the spring. Let us see here circinate leaf. They are somewhat rounded structure, and initially they are silvery white. Further they are when they are older they are green in color. The leaflet or pinna, they are sessile. They are the auriculated, lanceolate with the acute apex and slightly circinate margin. Each pinna or leaflet is about 6 to 8 centimeter, okay, in length, and 2 to 3 centimeter. Let us see here. This is the structure of a pinna, and this pinna is about 6 to 8 centimeter in length and 2 to 3 centimeter in width. They show a distinct midrib. Let us see here. This is the midrib, and this midrib is a distinct midrib with a forked lateral vein. Let us see here. These are the forked veins are present on the leaflet ending toward the white dot, and they having a white dots on them, and which are called as the hadathors. Okay, on these veins, these small rounded dot is there, and that rounded dot is known as the hedathodes. Okay, each hadathode, let us see, this is the structure of hadathode. Where they are present? They are present on this vein, and when we are see in microscope, it is shown in this. It is the internally it is shown in this type. This hadathode is present at the vein ending, and they are white dot arranged into the two longitudinal rows. There are two dots. Let us see here, 1 and 2. Each vein has a two dot like structure, longitudinal rows on the dorsal surface along the margin of each pinna or leaflet. The central part of the hadathode consists of a group of small thin wall parenchymatous cell sunk into a minute oval depression, which is covered by 2 or 3 layer rectangular. These are 2 or 3 layered rectangular cells, and they are the elliptical cells. Let us see this structure. Centrally, this is the hadathode, and that hadathode, they are made up from the parenchymatous cell, and they are surrounded by 2 to 3 layer of rectangular elliptical cells. These cells of the hadathode are hygroscopic in nature, and they are also called as the water stomata. What they are? They are known as the water stomata. They exude the water in the form of liquid, and this process is known as the guttation. We know that the guttation, when in the winter season, early in the morning, on the grasses, small water drop is present there on the tip of the grass. That water drop is due to the exudation. That process is known as the guttation. Okay, that is the gutted water. Gutted water is nothing but the water in liquid form, which is evaporate, or which is come out of the plant in the form of liquid, and they are in the form of liquid on the blade of the leaf, and that water is known as the gutted water. Here also the function is guttation is occurred in the fern due to the hadathode, or that hadathode act as a gutted water. Okay, or guttation is occurred due to the hadathode. The stem and the leaves, usually when young, they are covered by the many brown scale like structure known as the ramenta. Let us see here the structure of ramenta. That ramenta is nothing but the stem and leaves, usually when young, they are covered with, let us see, these are the many brown scaly leaves at the outer side. These are the scaly part. And that structure is known as the ramenta, which protect the younger part of the plant against the adverse climatic condition. Each ramenta is membranous, multicellular, triangular in shape, and they are triangular in shape, and they are made up of the single layer of cells. These cells are dry with the thick brown wall, with the marginal cell give out hair-like structure, and they are protective in function. Let us see here. These are the hair-like structure, and the main function is the protection. They are protective in function, that is, they protect the plant from heavy rain, water, and high temperature. This is about the external morphology of the sporophyte. I hope you are understand. Thank you very much.